Obviously, I'm so grateful for Quincy. He did so much for my life. One of the incredible things is he brought you into my life, right? I'm so
Oh,
incredibly grateful for that, and so my condolences, but also like, dude, what a blessing to be able to have spent so much time and energy and with Quincy.
yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, it's been a really, in some ways, a positive place to process Quincy's loss on the road,
Yeah.
because every evening I get a chance to just throw those lessons into a physical space
Mm.
and get that energy back. And I mean, Quincy, he has so many little nuggets of things he says, but one of my favorites is play it, don't say it. He'll say, "Play it, man. Hey, man, play it, don't say it." And so I think if Quincy thought, "Oh, I'm going to sit around and write and talk about Quincy," and just like it all in theory, like, "Oh, Quincy said do this," or "Quincy told me this story," or "I did this with this," it's like, no, I just go just go and take all that and put it into the music, put it
Yeah.
back into the music, because that's where it belongs.
Yes.
And so what an amazing place to do that on this tour. It's been amazing, but lots and lots of reflection. Quincy's one of these. He's a true champion of people he believes in. He's a true human. Some people will champion somebody who is hot for a second, or someone who has the potential to make them a ton of money, or someone who everybody else is jumping on board and saying they like, so you're going to do it too. But Quincy believed in me at a time before I even believed in myself.
Mm.
It was like I hadn't released any music of my own. It was before In My Room came out. I'd never done a show. I'd never performed. Um, I was just a kid with a big imagination. And for whatever reason, in those arrangements that I was making of those early songs, he saw in me a potential which I don't think I even dared to see in myself. And it was the potential to take the DNA of what was in those arrangements, as he did over the course of his life, and transfer them into other parts of music. The other thing about Quincy is he's such a lover of people, and if I think about one of the most inspiring things that I look up to Quincy as doing, is just the number of people who he cared for and who cared for him is almost dizzying to think about. I can't think of anybody I respect and admire who hasn't been in some way changed by Quincy, either through meeting him, playing with him, playing under him, or just listening to his records, but from all these different generations. So, it's been such a trip to reflect on 10 years of being under that man's wing,
Yeah.
and all the lessons that he's been able to give me. But I think a lot of the lessons that stick the hardest are things that he did rather than things that he said. And he said a lot of really amazing stuff, but I think he's always been a real believer that music will never not matter, and that there's never been a more important time for music than right now. And so you just got to keep on making it on your own terms, and I love so much that he was able to he was such an unconditional encourager of mine. And I've done I've made a bunch of weird music. I've made music of all different shapes and sizes, and I've never really made music with the intention of, getting on the radio, or, hitting the masses, or having a big hit song or something. There are just other things that matter more to me than that. But Quincy's always been down. He's been like, "Cool, man. I just trust you." Like a true champion. It's like, well, if Jacob's going to do it, then I'm going to show up and support. I find it really moving to think about that, because there are so many people in the music industry, especially now, who think that the best way to get the results out of, say, an artist or whatever, and this is from a fan perspective, from an A&R perspective, from a management perspective, agent perspective, everything, is to somehow put them into a box. Over the course of education and school, and then, parts of the music industry too, there have been lots of people over the years who have said, "Hey man, Jacob, at a certain point you just have to pick a lane, man. Pick a lane and stay in your lane. What's your one thing what's your one, what kind of music do you make, man? Just decide." and
Bro,
and
what
I
is
think,
all this, man? Pick a lane.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think what Quincy gave me the courage to do was to maintain my openness and be like, what if I
Yes.
don't have to say this is who I am in my entirety? What if I can say this is who I am in a continuing basis with no ultimate thesis? I'm just figuring it out, same as everybody else. I'm following the things I like. To use another Quincy term, so he used to say, "Follow your goosebumps; they'll never lead you wrong." He would say, "Follow your goosebumps." And man, like,
Mm.
that's what I'm doing. I'm just following the stuff that just lights me up. And Quincy was such a believer in that light, um, of music in the world, and of trusting the process of listening to that. And but the thing with Quincy, he really showed by example, and the
Yes.
number of people he loved and lives he changed and history he made. I mean, it's just amazing. And yeah, I mean, really, like nothing but just deep gratitude for the man. And all of us who make music now, we've all been touched by him, and now we all get to continue that legacy through the work that we make, and that's such an exciting and hopeful thought for me.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, much love to Quincy. It's like I got him here in my office, and so it's like a constant reminder of just like same thing. He was an early validator to me, in the early days of Jam Card. Like that validation can
100%.
push you so far in believing in yourself.
Man, everyone needs an encourager.
Yeah,
Everyone,
man.
like everyone needs someone to say, "Hey, man, what you're doing matters a lot.
Yes, dude.
Like, keep doing it." And I've seen you grow, man. Like from the earliest days of all of that, and like the vision you had for it, the social element, the fun element, the visual element, the way it was captured on film, the round. Like, it's been so cool to see you blossom and grow in that way. And I remember that 2019 Jam Cup was mighty special. It was 2019, right? Am I getting
Yes,
that
it
right?
was, man. And thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was October 2019. We did the Quincy Jones Jam
That's
with.
right, and because it was at the end of the month, because it was Halloweeny, wasn't it?
It was the day
Because
before Halloween. Because
yeah,
you
because
and Quincy, you put on like the
we were,
wizard
yeah,
hat.
yeah, yeah. I had a beard on. I think, and Quincy had this big hat. And there's some great photos from that time, man. It was wonderful.
That
Yeah,
was such an awesome night, man. That was such a
yeah,
great night. Oh yeah, and it was great watching you conduct in the audience that night too in a smaller atmosphere.
for sure, for sure.
May have
Yeah.
been the first
Oh,
time I saw you do that. I don't. But
well, I hadn't been doing it for too long back then. That was
yeah,
that was still very much early days, but
yeah.
yeah, no, super fun.
And Quincy brought Herbie Hancock into your life, right?
Well, actually, Quincy and Herbie kind of came in independently but together. It's a
Wow.
funny one that I always paired them because Quincy reached out to me. I think just before Herbie did, um, based off of having seen some of my earliest stuff, and then Quincy ended up flying me to Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland
Oh
in
yeah.
2014, so 10 years ago, to
Wow.
to meet him and hang with him, and Herbie was there hanging as well. So I got to meet Herbie and Quincy in the same hotel on the same day. And later that night, we went to the jam, and I remember I think I played My Funny Valentine at that jam session. It's the first time I ever played for Quincy, and Herbie was around, and it was just this thing where like they were like my two cronies, and they kind of showed me around the festival. They're like, "Hey man, so like there's this and this, that, and the other," and just hearing them tell stories and all that stuff. But then, they are so close.
Yeah.
And the last time I saw Quincy was last year, 2023. Um, I was hosting a listening party for Jesse Rolling 4. This is before it was done. It was nearly done, but I hadn't done a few parts of it were still yet to be done. But I was like, look, I'm just going to call a bunch of my friends up, see what the deal is, and see if they want to come and check it out. Because it's always helpful to play things that you are making for people you love and respect.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wasn't expecting Quincy to come. Even by that time, I think that he was starting to slow down.
Yeah.
But he was like, "Well, I'm there." So he pulled up, and Herbie pulled up, and the room was filled with these people. And it was just like in my room, because when we made in my room, I recorded all the music and mixed it all at home in London. I brought it to LA to finish the mixing and mastering. And Herbie and Quincy would come every day. They'd come and hang out. And this was at Hans Zimmer's studio in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And there's a little sofa, and they would sit on the sofa on either side of me, and we'd listen to the music, and we'd just laugh and jam and tell stories. And it was just so special and so fun. And this last year, this moment it just felt like this full circle where 5 albums later, I've got Quincy on my right, got Herbie on my left, and we're just like it's just like they're my friends, and we're making, and we're dreaming, and we're just having fun together, and it was just an amazing thing. So yeah, I'm so grateful to both of them, and I do think of them as somewhat as partners in crime. And I mean they've known each other for what, 60 years,
Yeah.
something crazy like that. So yeah, it's, I mean, amazing to call them both friends, but also to witness them being friends with each other. It's
Oh,
trippy.
it's so beautiful, man. What is your relationship like with Herbie now?
I mean, he's this ultimate like coolest uncle in the world kind of vibe, like
Yeah.
coolest godfather. The last time I went to Herbie's house, classic Herbie. This is last year, and I go into the studio, and he's always bought the like latest and greatest gadget. Like he's like right on the ground. So he was like, "Hey man, have you ever tried an Apple Vision Pro?" And I was like, no, I've seen them online. So he puts his Apple Vision Pro on me, and he's like showing me how to get around it. And you know the thing when you pinch and you look the thing and you
Yeah.
pinch and you select, and he was all over it, man. And we FaceTimed when he was wearing it, and and I remember the first time I went to Herbie's house in 2016, he just got one of those Teslas that you can summon with the summon button.
Yeah.
And he drove me down. He lives at the top of a hill, and he drove me down the hill on turbo mode in this Tesla. Like, hey man, check this out. So I think he likes like freaking me out. like you won't believe this. And so yeah, that to me just felt like it always just feels like hanging out with the coolest uncle in the world, Herbie. But when he's still touring like big rooms and changing lives and inspiring like all these different generations, and he's so kind and kind of graceful with his time, and he's still super sharp, and yeah, I love that man. Never want him to leave us.
Oh man, he's the best, dude. That's so great because he was always, I mean, he was known for, he was tinkering with the toys, right? In the 70s and the 80s, like the first toys, the first Linn drums, the first everything was like, he's the first to tinker.
Have you seen that video of Quincy and Herbie with a synth in the 80s?
Yeah.
And like Herbie's jamming and Quincy's tweaking. It's
and they're just laughing. Like,
yeah.
Just having the best time. Oh, dude, that's so great.
Go with Elmo, 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 go with Elmo. This is the stuff, man.